And joining me here in the studio is Mark Pfeifle. He is a Republican strategist and former White House National Security Advisor. Mark, good to have you here in the studio. Donald Trump said that his announcement was a monumental step towards lasting peace and security. Is he just being hopeful here, or do you actually see the conditions now lining up for a lasting peace?
A lot of hope. As we see, the Trump administration has called this a historic agreement. It's really more of a roadmap or a framework, trying to put this phase two, as they've been trying to do now for 9 or 10 months, ever since the first agreement on the ceasefire, which has been tenuous at best as well. Now it comes down to a sequencing battle. Hamas is going to say, yes, we will disarm and we will put our weapons into storage after Israel removes from our areas. Israel will say, okay, we will vacate these areas of Gaza after Hamas demilitarizes. So we're still going to be in this same sequencing debate. And until both sides actually get together with the United States and everybody who's a member of this peace board that comes together and pressures these two groups to actually implement this, so we're not in the same mess 8 months, 10 months down the road.
Of course, we have this the fresh memory of the Memorandum of Understanding in Iran. Well, that pretty much collapsed. Right, all those points that they never really, came to reality. I want to talk about the points here in this 15-point roadmap that the Gaza Board of Peace just published yesterday. Right at the start, point 1, it mentions the launch of a credible political path that achieves self-determination and statehood for the Palestinians. And that's a shift from Donald Trump's 20-point peace plan, where it said the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, which we recognize as the aspiration of the Palestinian people. What do you think about this shift in language?
I think it puts more pressure on the Israelis to actually come together, and it puts more pressure on the Palestinians as well. If you actually want to move together towards Palestinian statehood, this is your roadmap. This is your framework to do it. And it lays it out in a couple of very specific timelines. One is store your large weapons and also decommission your tunnels within 200 days to 1 year. So there's timeline 1. And then the second one is just within the next 14 days, come up with a roadmap for how you're actually going to store these weapons, where you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. So that puts Hamas onto a timeline to actually focus on these two priorities. Secondly, the Israelis have to be pushed that if Hamas does actually move forward on these two items, the Israelis, you better be ready and willing to get away. Now, here's the challenge. When this was announced 9 or 10 months ago in Sharm el-Sheikh, where was the Israelis? They were not at that meeting. Meaning the Israelis have to, yes, campaign for the Knesset this upcoming year, but then they also have to stop talking about just how horrible their security is and now start talking about an actual pathway towards peace. There's some, if you look at what's going on right now, for example, in southern Lebanon, you actually have the Lebanese government and the Israelis coming together with a pilot project for how they can eliminate Hezbollah. If they can take some of that success, even though it's still early, and move that type of operation into Gaza, that's probably the way forward.
You're talking about something that's quite far down the line in this agreement, but I want to talk about point 2. It says Israel shall fully complete without delay all remaining commitments under that Sharm el-Sheikh protocol that you mentioned, particularly the cessation of military operations. And we continue seeing Israel attacking Gaza. This is point 2 of this agreement. Why does Israel keep on attacking Gaza when this is the roadmap that Donald Trump has now laid out?
The Israelis have to figure out that they can't bomb their way towards peace. It just hasn't worked. It hasn't worked in Hezbollah, it didn't work in Syria, and it's not working in Gaza. They actually have to put together some of their influence, some of their strategy into figuring out, don't just take out a hospital because there might be a couple of Hamas members hanging out there. Maybe there's a small weapons cache. Bigger deal is, how do we find long-term ways to bring peace to this area so we can finally, after all these years, have some semblance of order and peace?
Mark Pfeifle, thank you so much for joining us here in the studio.
Thank you.